describe yourself as audacious. What does this mean to be audacious as a writer in China?
To me, being audacious, number one, I just write as free as I want in terms of content and also in terms of selection of word, selection of forms, both content and format. Number two, I tend to not to follow any social taboo in my writing. Pay no attention to the limitations of social norms. Number three, I pay no attention to the market response. I pay very little attention to the sales number. So net, I just write as freely as possible, regardless of anything.
Is it really possible to do that?
I think that's the rules I try to follow. Of course, if you aim at getting 10, sometimes you'll get 8 or 9. However, if you only aim at 6, you won't pass the average.
So how would you now describe yourself? 6, 8?
I'm aiming at 10. I'm working on reaching 10, but I'm not in a position to judge my achievement so far, and I hope I can achieve higher and better.
Though Feng Tang is modest about his achievements, he was certainly keen to show me one of the places he loves and lives, a corner of a traditional courtyard in downtown Beijing, which he says was a private temple for one of the most powerful women in Chinese history, the Empress Cixi Daowager. He told me of all the legends surrounding the place while I nursed my teacup and admired his collection of antiques. Feng Tang told me that he really loves the contrasts between the ancient and the contemporary. It's such a gift to him as a writer. China is such an interesting place these days. Maybe the most intense place in the world.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you as a writer?
I think I'm born in the right time. I read People's Daily and I watch CGTN.
Full of goodies, isn't it, for writers?
Full of interesting stuff, very interesting stuff. Sometimes even I use my imagination. I cannot think things could be this way.
Can you help me to understand how those stories, maybe on the paper, on TV, or through stories told by the others,
yes,
would eventually reflect it in some of your works? Does it really go that way?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. For example, just give you one story just happened during this lunch. I had lunch with my parents. My father was away. My mom was saying to me that, hey, did you watch TV last night? I told her many times, I don't have a TV at all. Did you watch TV last night? Saying in Jiangsu province, there are a huge number of ducks were dead, not naturally, just with certain disease or poison. Then just at this time, my father came in saying with a duck, saying it's extremely cheap. I don't know what's going on, but I like the price. I just bought one. So this, that thing cannot happen.
Just little things, but coincidences,
yes,
the drama
yes,
has always
yes,
been there
yes,
in
yes,
life.
Yes.
Too many to choose from?
Yes.
How would you streamline them as a writer?
The ones came into my mind first.
Usually what kind?
Usually with strong contrast, or usually something with a strange sense of humor, just as the one I just described to you. You can imagine...
Satirical a little bit.
Yes. You can imagine what in my mom's heart when he saw my father came in with a stupid duck. I always do.
What did you do with that duck?
I didn't eat any.
That's interesting. Talk about language.
Yes.
In your books, you use some very interesting combination.
Yes.
of Chinese language with a modern kick, while at the same time combining some of the minor elements of the elegance of the ancient Chinese languages.
Yes.
It probably has a lot to do with your upbringing and your reading history. But what is the language to you as a writer, as a Chinese writer contemporary?
Yeah. Here, I could be too firm, but I strongly believe Chinese language is the most beautiful thing, not one of, if the most beautiful thing man ever made, human being ever made. Is full of depth, full of flexibility, and full of the possibility. So it's sometimes what I mean by full of possibility is you always feel the limitation of one language, even in Chinese. But on the other hand, if you know Chinese as a language better, you will find out it can create things that larger than your imagination, richer than your original thinking.
Do you play with that a lot?
Yes, yes. For example, the name of the towns and the cities. Give you one example in Shandong, they call it Xixia, is live with all the rainbows, living with the colorful cloud. So there's many things in the Chinese language that are extremely beautiful, extremely warm, sometimes can be extremely deep.
Are we as creative as we were before?
No.
Or actually we have so much left behind our ancestors?
No, I think we, as a whole, we haven't really digested what our ancestors left us.
What does it take to digest?
Reading, reciting, read more books. My thinking maybe still very traditional. I still think it's like Kunlun Mountains. You need to go to the top of Kunlun Mountain and grow your own plant on the top of Kunlun Mountain. There's a consequence. There's a sequence of that. You go to the top, then you grow your own things.
Right.
So you learn before you can really create. But on the other hand, I agree. Some extremely young artists, some extremely young businessmen, they can create something extremely beautiful. So that's, I think we can combine these two together.
Feng Tang enjoys talking about China's history and his own personal history, particularly some of the most dramatic episodes. He belongs to the generation born in the 1970s, right in the midst of China's Cultural Revolution. But he's lived through a period of huge change in China as the economy blossomed and the country opened up to the outside world. From rags to riches overnight. It could be intense and very confusing. What is the personality, if there is any, of this generation? And in your writing, how is it reflecting it? Or not at all, you want to be as far away from this generation as possible?
I think the 70s, born in the 70s people, in general, are more commercial driven, which means, in more accurate way, is more market driven. When we grow up, there was no market-driven economy, it's more planned economy. Then suddenly we had all the opportunities to go for market. Then it's totally new to our previous generation, to our fathers, mothers, parents. They always believe that there's only one way to go, which is study hard, join good company, or do and start up your own company, earn more money. So the whole country is more market driven. Maybe for the first time in the whole history. So we are the generation for the money. Money in a good way, not in a bad way.
What do you mean in a good way?
In a good way is getting rich in a legal binding way, not just money is everything. Just we are so poor at that time, as a society, as a generation, we need to get rich. We need to get a decent life. So that's very overarching for a long time. So under this condition, my generation is quite shy from having real hobbies. However, it's humanity. Real hobby can never be forgotten as your real love.
Real hobby, what? What kind of real hobbies?
For example, writing.
So there's certain things that is more important than just being rich and being financially safe.
That's right. That's right.
But on the other hand, how would you compare your generation's writer, for example, you and your friends, with the other generation, the 60s, the 50s, and then, of course, the 80s and 90s, which are very self-expressive these days in the Chinese society?
I think my generation writers is quite unique in the way that I just described. At the very early part of their life, they go for financial safety. They go for good jobs, good income, houses, taking care of the children and parents. So the smartest people of my generation, they are not writers when they are very young. However, the good part of that is they have real-world experience.
Right.
So they know how it feels to lead an army of 10,000 people, right? I mean, in a commercial organization.
Right.
They know the world. Normally, they study abroad. Normally, they get degrees both in China and also in U.S. or U.K. Sometimes they study literature outside China. So they're, in terms of knowledge base, they're very solid. They don't have the burden of cultural revolution. Also, they do not have the limitation of only studying in Chinese. So they are better writer in terms of experience and knowledge.
Are you going to say this to the 80s and 90s generation directly?
Yes, yes.
What do you think about them?
They have more freedom than we do. Newer generation, they do have the freedom to choose different way of life, different way of career. However, their potential risk compared to my generation is their time is too fragmented. They have too many attractions. Even looking at this stupid screen, they have a smartphone. At that time, they don't even have a computer.
Right.
So my impression is my generation tend to read books more, tend to be more stable in one career. For example, at least work for 3 to 5 years, do not change jobs that often. If we open a book, we finish the book. If we write chapter 1, we finish writing the whole book.
There's a sense of superiority in your language, I think, that I just heard.
Yes,
why is that?
Because I think writing and reading, they're bonded together. And you need to substantial accumulation of reading and writing to become a master of it. To me, there's no bypass, no shortcut. Insights.
Only the real stuff.
Yes. If we don't have insight, I just stop writing.
Have you realized that in some of your answers, there's a sense of reminiscence already? Is it because of age, or is it because you think it's really the most important part of your life?
Because I'm already 44.
So what? According to the United Nations standard, you are still the young generation.
I like to compare things. For example, my feelings, my impressions, my understandings when I was very young, and my understanding, the same set of things I'm having now.
Were those days the most beautiful days of your life?
No, I don't think so. I think every single stage of life is unique. What I'm doing is, I read Chinese history extensively. I like to compare. It's more like in this large-scale time dimension, you find the essence of humanity. Mm. So it's, as a thinker, as a writer, you always try to compare, try to think about what's the difference, what's the commonality among things, among people, among different dynasties. So that's what I generally do.
We talk a lot about your past works, your aspirations. Mm. What's next, if that is a question that I could ask? What are the things you are extremely interested in now that you think might be interesting for us to know as well?
Yeah, majority of my literature heroes are already died around my age, like Jack Kerouac, like D.H. Lawrence.
Shall I say congratulations to you
yes,
that you are
yes,
still alive?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Kicking and.
Yeah. Then I guess I will have less expectation of life. I just want to my life take its own courses. I will still keep on reading, keep on writing, keep on understanding this whole world, keep on getting insights and get them out in writing.
It's a great pleasure to have you, Feng Tang, on World Insight. I'm sure you're providing many of the insights that our viewers are interested in. Thank you so much. All the best.
Same thing here.
Thank you very much.